been a little while since I've uploaded a video. I was pretty busy finishing up a semester of school, then I went on vacation, but now we're back. We're back on War Thunder. Gaijin has just come out with a new event vehicle that we are all about to have our hands on. I think the day this video goes live, you'll be able to get your hands on this thing. If this event has caught you by surprise and you're going to be unable to unlock this Iranian F-14 because you just haven't been doing the tasks this entire time, your only resort would be to purchase those tasks that you missed with Golden Eagles. Today's video sponsor, Free GE for War Thunder, could help you out with doing just that. GE for War Thunder is an app available on the Google Play Store in which you will complete tasks of varying difficulty. The more difficult the task, the more Golden Eagles payout you will get. And every time you guys earn gold on the app, I get a little bit of a slice too, in which I can then give away, yes, do a free Golden Eagle giveaway to the rest of you guys. Link in the description down below and use my code on screen for 10 extra gold. So what do you get with the Iranian F-14A Tomcat? Well, essentially, overall, this plane is just a worse US F-14A. Not by much, not by a huge margin. It is still going to give you the F-14A experience if that's something you're looking for. If you don't have an F-14 in the US tree, or maybe you just downloaded the game and the F-14 is your favorite plane, well, purchasing one outright is going to be the best way for you to get into an F-14. And this is the only F-14 in the game that will be available for purchase. Granted, on the Gaijin marketplace, but still better than nothing. Which, by the way, if you do plan on purchasing anything, you should use my code in the description down below to get 3% off plus this cool decal on screen. Starting off, I do want to say that I've never been a fan of F-14s, even way back in the day when the F-14 first came out and it was extremely strong. It was never really suited to my play style. I've always just found them annoying to use, and I still do very much find them annoying to use. But at least the Tomcat always had something really cool about it, and that it carried 6 AIM-7 Sparrows, which aren't the greatest missiles these days. They're still pretty good though, and having 6 of them makes it great. Of course, you might not have 6 depending on what loadout you're running, but the option is there, and that's the point. With the Iranian Tomcat, you do not get 6 AIM-7 Sparrows. In fact, you don't even get any AIM-7F/M Sparrows. The best you get is the AIM-7E2 as far as AIM-7s go, which obviously you're just not going to use because you also have access to 2 R-27Rs, but only 2. And so this F-14 is a little bit more limited in that regard. You can only carry 2 SARs at any given time, no matter what combination of missiles you use, no matter what loadout you use. The most you can have is 2 on the wing pylons, as well as just 2 IR missiles on the wing pylons in total. You have to carry 4 active radar homing missiles, which we are going to touch on next. And excuse my dog fight in the background, I really should have put my wings out here in this fight, I understand that, but it's been so long since I've touched this game, I genuinely forgot what my keybind was, so I just had to wing it because I obviously can't search it up in the middle of a fight. So for active radar homing missiles, you get the Fakor 90 or the AIM-54A Phoenix. Both of them are very similar and both are pretty much the same in terms of effectiveness, with the Fakor 90 being ever so slightly stronger than the Phoenix in my opinion. How you deploy these 2 weapons is going to be extremely similar. You're pretty much going to be launching the same type of launches, but the Fakor 90 is quicker off of the rail, it accelerates more, and is pretty much just all around faster than the AIM-54A for most of the missile's flight. And so where this is particularly helpful is closer range missile launches. How many of you guys have shot a Phoenix within about 10 kilometers and it is an absolute boat? It will not hit a target. All they have to do is make a very small adjustment and the Phoenix is just drifting and chugging along trying to make a course correction because it doesn't have any speed that early in its flight time. While the Fakor 90 does make this a little bit better. You can take closer range launches because it has more acceleration off the rail. It will actually have more speed to maneuver, and that results in having better close range performance. Not by much, it's still by no means a close range missile, but it will edge out the Phoenix in that regard. And other than that, as far as long range shots go, it's pretty much just as capable as the AIM-54A, if not more capable, just because of how fast it's going for such a long period of time during its flight. I'm definitely going to be taking all of these over the AIM-54. Not a single AIM-54 is going to be on my plane when I have the option for the Fakor 90. Just to cover the SARs real quick, you have the option between the R-27R or the Sejil missile. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry if it's not. The Sejil is the native iRan missile, as is the F-14, two new missiles in the game. But let me tell you right now, the Sejil is not the move. It's just not a great missile. It doesn't pull very well at all. Stat cards usually aren't something you really want to take too seriously when it comes to missiles, but the 15G on the stat card for the Sejil is accurate, if not generous. That missile just does not pull, or maybe it's a tracking issue, I'm not quite sure, but either way, I don't recommend it. The R-27R is a fantastic SAR missile. And then you do have the option to carry AIM-7E2s, although I really don't know why you would take those over R-27Rs. For IR missiles, you have the AIM-9P, and it is the rear aspect AIM-9P. At 12.7, that is kind of a slap in the face. It's not a missile that I think belongs at 12.7, and really this entire aircraft's kit at 12.7 is just kind of mid. Like, it's not special in any way. You don't have any IRCCM, you don't have any long-range IR capability, you can't really be stealthy in that regard. The long-range missiles are great for being long-range missiles, but they're still long-range missiles. And the problem with that is, sure, a lot of times people will just fly straight into your missile and you're gonna get a kill for it at long range. That's fantastic. It's fun, and I'm not going to deny that it happens, and it happens a lot more often than it should. The issue, though, is that if people actually react in any sort of way to the incoming launch, they have plenty of time to take the appropriate action to actually defeat a long-range launch. And that goes for anything, not just the F-14 specifically, but the further away you launch a missile in War Thunder, the easier it is to defend against. And I would argue that as long as you actually have chaff, any launch outside of 15 kilometers is going to be extremely easy for somebody to defeat if they're actually paying attention to your specific launch and they're actually somewhat competent at top tier. And that goes for any radar missile. Now, talk about 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometer launches, and yes, there is a very high chance that somebody that has half of a clue on how to play top tier is not going to be dying to that missile. And so this is why I strongly dislike the Iranian Tomcat. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that this plane is necessarily bad, because I don't think it's complete dog shit. I just don't think it's particularly competitive at 12.7. I do think that there are better options. Just the normal American F-14A, for example, is a better option. And that's because this F-14, again, is locked into having those 4 Fakor 90s, or 4 Phoenixes if you want to go that route. But regardless, I think that having the ability to carry more SARs, I think that's going to be the more competitive weapon for most cases. Now, again, you're going to get plenty of long-range missile kills. I'm not denying that it happens, and it does change the tide of the game sometimes. But the fact of the matter is that somebody with half of a clue on how to play top tier is not going to be dying to these long-range launches. And so, in these cases, having good IR missiles for close-range performance, having good SAR missiles for good mid to close-range performance is extremely important, and this Tomcat just does not have that capability. Or I should say, it has that capability, but not to the degree that other planes do at this battle rating. And speaking of the battle rating, when compared to other 12.7s, it's not terrible by any means, and it's not even that much worse than other 12.7s. But the problem is that this 12.7 is not nearly as up-tier proof as some of the other ones are. And that's the real issue. Because when you take this thing into 13.0, 13.3 games, you're seeing things like F-16s and Gripens, you really do not have the flight performance, no brainer on that aspect, but you really don't have the weapons either, like some of these other planes with IRCCM or long-range IR missiles, or just, hell, for that matter, a good healthy amount of competitive SAR missiles. The RWR is absolutely terrible. The F-14A RWR is nothing special at all. In fact, it's honestly just quite bad. I can't think of too many US planes that have really bad RWRs, but the F-14 is one of them. It does not give you the launch warnings that you would like from a lot of aircraft. And also the countermeasures, while there is a decent amount of countermeasures on the plane, especially now that you can switch between what you're dropping, they're not large caliber, and the F-14 is extremely hot. It is hard to flare a strong IRCCM missile or at closer ranges, just about any of the missiles. You really do have to try to kind of cut throttle a little bit in the F-14 if somebody's launching at you at close range, rear aspect with an iRan missile, and drop those flares with nearly 0% throttle. So if you haven't noticed, I'm not the biggest fan of this Tomcat. I'm not really a Tomcat fan in general though, as I covered in the beginning of the video. That being said, I do think that this makes for an interesting event vehicle, and I think it's worth the grind. It's something cool, it's something unique, and it's at least not the 6th attacker in a row for an event. So I gotta give props to Gaijin on that one. I appreciate that we actually see an ARRB dedicated plane as the reward for this event. And in the end of the day, it is still an F-14. If you fight your own battle rating or in a down tier, you have great flight performance. You're going to be slamming a lot of premiums like F-4Ss or MiG-23MLs, and that's always still going to be a fun time. That's pretty much it. I can't think of anything else really about this F-14. I will say that when I was playing it, I literally got city like 7 times, 8 times in a row. So that's why literally all of the gameplay on screen has been city, because that's all I got to play in this airplane was city 7, 8 times in a row. I also got team killed like 4 times. Twice was just because I was in this plane and people were like, oh, how does he have the new plane already? And thought it'd be funny to just kill me, I guess, on the runway. Speaking of the runway, this last guy had just taken off, and I give him props for trying. It's like 1v5 or 1v6. I do applaud people when they try to win situations where they clearly probably should lose. It's fun. It's fun when that happens, and sometimes you do win. But if you're going to make the attempt, make the attempt. Don't just camp the runway, because that's lame. Anyways, we run out of fuel, glide down, shoot him, and dodge all the A, because we're simply better at the game, clearly. And that's all she wrote. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you later.